Vinyl community, this is Dom seeking a thread, coming to you with an impromptu video I had no intention of making, but I wanted to get this while the topic was hot at hand, or at least on my mind. I have like 3 other videos that I've recorded I haven't really edited yet, but here I am jumping into a new one, so those will come. But record collecting, is it dead or is it dying? Certainly a question posed by many before, but most recently Dillon, Noble Records, put out a video sort of lamenting the death, or lamenting sort of, I guess he's not the death, but is record collecting fun anymore? And that's the question he posed, and he brought up a lot of good points about why it's sort of not the way it used to be, which no one can really argue with. However, I think very much so record collecting is still fun and is very well alive, and in fact is even better than ever. And actually, if many people are going to be sort of getting into it, or if a lot of you out there, or the general public who's getting into records is now going to start getting out of them, I'm almost like, that's fine with me. Maybe that'll drive prices down, make some records a little easier to get that are hard. But no, I think you have to sort of, if you love records and love music like I know Dillon does, you get creative and you start digging a little deeper and looking for different things that maybe other people aren't doing. So I'll link to Dillon's video. Also, I'll link to, I know there was a reaction video done by the NT guy. I don't really watch his videos. But Lance at Permanent Records did another video in this idea, except he was reacting the same way that I'm reacting, in that he couldn't disagree more. It's just as fun. There's just as many opportunity, just as much sort of things to investigate and explore, as always. Now, yes, we can all agree the days of finding, expensive or rare records for next to nothing are long gone, but it's not impossible. You can still find incredibly, rare things and undervalued things for nothing. You have to work a little hard at it to do it in terms of thrifting. Yeah, finding stuff for 50 cents a dollar that's worth 30, 40, 50 and up, that's definitely hard, but doable. However, because there's so much attention and people talking about records, there's a lot of things that are undervalued, and I'm going to talk about that now too. Lance sort of discussed like looking at some areas where maybe you might find things that are undervalued that people aren't really paying attention to. And there's a lot of records from, let's say, around the 2010s. I think Lance kind of mentioned that time, like this one, Amen Dunes, this EP. I'm going to show some records too. I think it's their first EP on Sacred Bones, Murder, Double Mind. I've kept this record around since I bought it in 2010, and this is still pretty cheap, still around. But looking at some of these indie records over the last 10-15 years, a lot of people have sort of, yes, some have gone up in value, but a lot of things have gotten forgotten. Amen Dunes, Circulatory System, it's an Elephant Six continuation by Will Cullen Hart. This is like a $15 album, just as good, maybe not quite as good, but just as good as near Olivia Tremor Control. I'll show some more records in a bit, but I came up with like 8 points, 8 things. Now I'm doing this video pretty quick, so I'll list all of these things below. I'm not going to type them out on the screen or anything. These are my sort of ideas about how you can either stay invigorated, stay interested, or get reinvigorated in record collecting if you're feeling a little bit uninto it, we'll say. And I've felt like that too, like sometimes buying too much, and I'll talk about that in a second, or focusing too much on expensive records and not truly appreciating those records when you get them. That leads to burnout and making you feel like it's not fun. Anyway, let me get into my points. Rabbit holes. Go down rabbit holes. Find an artist, label, producer who you like that is doing other things that maybe people aren't seeing, that might lead you into different kinds of music. Stunty does this all the time on his stream, always going down rabbit holes and finding artists or producers, like sidemen musicians that are involved in this other record that you don't know about. He's really good about that. The type label. Go down a rabbit hole. I mean, yes, the type label is not always easy to collect. It's defunct now, but this record by The Alps Le Voyage is a favorite of mine, and this is still, I think, undervalued $15, $20 album. Now, this is not a cheap heat video. I'm just sort of presenting some ideas. Beautiful album on type. Rabbit holes. You like K Records? There's a billion holes you can go down that one. Check out Landing on K. A lot of their stuff is CD only, but this one this might be the early 2000s, Landing. It's called Sphere. Right? Really great space rock out of Providence, Connecticut, something like that. Go down rabbit holes. That's how you're going to discover stuff. Number 2, yes, dig deeper. I kind of said this. Look elsewhere. Look at different genres you might not consider. Fred, Big Sport 1000, is always talking about classical music. He's not the only one, but it's incredibly undervalued. And that's still an avenue I'm meaning to get down and hopefully find inspiration myself. But, look at some of the international sections. Look at, I think there's a lot of good soul records and funk records you can find that people aren't really paying attention to. Psych is a big thing for people. Psychedelic is really great about showing and finding stuff that's way cheap and way undervalued. And yeah, you may or may not be into that, but take chances and find, just look a little bit outside of where your comfort zone is. I don't really have a great example of that in front of me, but yeah, here's one. This Kay Gardner album. This thing is $4 all day long. And it used to just be like, oh, it's just like, basic new age, but beautiful. It's solo flute, but she uses on the second side all Echoplex, and it's stunning. This is called Moods and Rituals. If you don't like new age music, well, maybe check it out. Maybe find something about it that you like and explore that. Kay Gardner albums are all cheap. I recommend this one. Obviously, that Echoplex track is spectacular. Third point, take a break. Take a break from buying records. Now, this is easier said than done. I'm kind of on a break right now. I'm definitely buying a few things. I bought a couple of big pieces. But taking a break really helps you recalibrate, focus, and save some money, but also start to appreciate what's in your collection. Shop in your home. A lot of people have talked about this, and I try to do it as much as possible. I'm doing radio again. I'm going back into the shelves and saying, oh, this is so cool that I have this. Like this one. This is a $5 to $10 album now. It might be going up a little bit. This is from 2008, Mountains Choral. Beautiful, more modernized sort of, I guess, crowdy sounds. Two different artists doing electronic, sort of analog electronics. Brandon Endereg and Cone Holcomb. This is on Thrill Jockey. You can still get that. I kind of a good example of something I forgot I had, and it's just sort of cool to be like, oh wow, there's this. I should play this again. So take a break, shop in your own collection. Number 4, stay focused. And this has helped me a great deal over the last few years, picking out those targeted lists of records I wanted to get. Now, in some ways it kind of messes me up because you're a little bit too hyper-focused, you have blinders on for maybe finding other things that might be, maybe you're focused on records you don't need that bad, because a lot of the ones I focused on were pretty expensive. But stay focused on things you truly love, and I think weeding out, for me, this is totally my opinion, but weeding out reissues as much as possible and getting off the sort of new reissue train, and even with new releases, although new releases is really always something to sort of be looking out for, I think, but the new reissue train, that is an exhausting situation. There's constantly new reissues of things, whether you have them or you don't. New represses, and they sound awesome and all that. Well, they can, but that's an exhausting train. New rare records that, or new reissues of rare records that you've never heard before. Some crazy African funk thing, or some psych thing, or some krautrock thing that's completely impossible to find. Sometimes these things aren't that good, but whatever. That constant reissue train really, for me, eliminating that has helped quite a bit. So staying focused, I think, is key. What do I have? Number 5, avoid trends. Yeah, and this is something I have to watch out myself too. Everyone's trying to collect Strata East right now. Everyone is trying to collect Strata East. Perhaps, maybe you don't worry about that right now. Maybe later down the road those will be cheaper. Maybe you'll find them organically for the right price or from the right situation. You don't have to. There's no rush. You can get these things at some other point. So avoid where everyone else is trying to go and swim upstream. Swim the other way. Alex Motoric, or I should say Diamond Marimba, he's really good about this. He's constantly going down into different territory. Always something different with Alex, and a lot of times something I don't know. Always exploring deep modern composers and ethnographic records and experimental records. If that doesn't appeal to you, that's one thing, but discovering stuff down into other genres and other things you might not be sort of thinking of, or the general record collecting public isn't, will be a good move. This one doesn't quite apply, but I'll show these all at the end, because these are all just good examples of just weird stuff. Yeah, I kind of mentioned going outside your comfort zone as this is my number 6 thing, but maybe do more blind buys. Blind buys. We all do them sometimes. Keeps it fun. You know what? Take a chance on something that's not that much. You can always sell it or give it to somebody. A lot of times you get totally surprised and blown away by a blind buy. It keeps it fun. It really does. Go judge something by its cover. It looks like a great cover. Go for it. Sometimes I won't even look something up on Discogs. If it's something cheap and I want to try it, it kind of ruins it for me if I start exploring it. Let's just get it. I'll get it, and I can always move it along, donate it, trade it for credit. Yes, maybe I threw away $5-10, but I've done stupider things with $5 and $10. So, here's my 7th point: is reorganize your record collection. This kind of speaks again, going back into appreciating what you have, but reorganize things. You'll start pulling out things you didn't know you had, that you've been meaning to spin again, and you'll discover things that you just forgot about. Reorganize, make up new sections, organize everything by color, put everything Z to A. I don't know. Try it. Keep yourself invigorated with what you have. And the A thing this is a pretty key one, I think. Don't overbuy. Overbuying leads to burnout. Makes you feel like, for me, when I've done it, like I've wasted my time, wasted my money, start wondering why am I doing this kind of thing. Don't overbuy. Sometimes just because something seems like you should have it or it's a great price, maybe you don't need it. Maybe it's not that good. Stick to something that's really giving you that feel of I want to have this record. This record, I need this one. Don't buy maybe I could get it. If in your head you're going, maybe I don't need this, you probably don't. Now, there's also the time where it's this is an opportunity to get something that's a great price I may never see it again. I believe in taking those jumps. That's one thing. But don't overbuy. I've done it. Certainly I can say this from experience. Coming home with a pile of records from somewhere and at the end of it, did I need all those? I think that's important to sort of be aware of. Anyway, those are my quick 8 points. I just came up with these 10 minutes ago, so these are not well explored, but they all, I think, apply to keeping you invigorated in record collecting, keeping it fun, and ultimately keep going with it, assuming you want to. When people are getting away from it and you're then finding all these collections for next to nothing again, you'll thank me. Anyway, here's some other ones. This is not a cheap heat video, but some other sort of weirder picks from my collection represent sort of good examples of stuff to check out. Mandy Doll, this one and only 12-inch. Ooh, I Don't Feel Nothing. I took a blind buy chance on this, just because look at her. This was a $6 blind buy. It's actually gone up a little bit in value. And it's a fun, kind of new wave, something with some swagger, a little bit like a Debbie Harry, but totally unknown, one and only release. There's tons of records by 6 Organs of Admittance, Ben Chastney. Some are really cheap. The early ones are pretty expensive, actually. This was a really release in 2002 on Time Lag. This is a reissue, technically. But he's got a lot of great albums on Drag City that really deserve some attention. and still can be had pretty cheap. Ben Chastney, 6 organs of the mittens. Sky Green Leopards. I love this band. I don't have everything, but I have a few. They started as one of the Jeweled Antlers, but then they started doing something a little more of like a psych pop thing. This is on Woodcyst. Donovan Quinn is another one that comes to mind in this sort of regard, also from that sort of same band or same collective. Really good. This is like a $10 album. I think this one may be a little. I think I looked each of these up. This one may be sort of available only in the U. Here's a great cheap jazz record. Check out the Cadence Jazz label. I'm not the first to bring this label up, but there's plenty of cool stuff on this. Here we have Ahmed Abdullah, Chico Freeman, Vincent Chauncey, Munir Abdul Fattah, Jerome Hunter, and Rashid Suwali. Really nice live avant sort of experimental jazz record. This is from like 1980. So yeah, check out Cadence Jazz. Again, not many people talking about though. There's lots of private press. A lot of private presses aren't that good. Here's a cheap one on the Tiwa label. Hawley Adams Kearns and J.P. Richards percussion vibraphone, and some electronics or electric and acoustic violin. This is a pretty out there free record, but all day long this is cheap. This is a good Chris Cole type record. Many Years of Love to You. I remember finding this in Bushwick. Take chances. I took a chance on it. This is still a cheap one. Going down the rabbit hole of Neutral Records. I talked about this record. For Small Orchestra Title by Michael Byron. This is still around a $10 record. Again, not a cheap heat video. I just randomly pulled all these. Just good examples of like some of the things I've been talking about. Here's one that you might think is expensive, but it's not really. Maybe a $15 album. This is a new wave post-punk record by the Delinquents. I think I bought this sealed 1981 on Livewire Records. I don't know why I pulled this one, frankly. I don't know. Maybe I just want to play it. But, you know, just because something is obscure and unknown doesn't make it good. But if something's cheap and you don't know what the hell it is, and there's nothing that's... Sometimes there's like things you look at a record like, oh, this is cheap because it's going to be like a blues rock thing, or this is cheap because a certain player that might be on it, or this is cheap because it's from a certain year. That stuff does sometimes check out, but don't be afraid. Here's I think these Perubu records are incredibly undervalued. I really do think they should be more to me in a way. This is on the Blank label. It's first pressing. You can still get these for around $30. Great Ohio band. And last one, this is like a $10 to $15 album all day long. This is an Island UK original by MX80 Sound. Yeah, they're kind of like an avant indie, sort of angular, bit of like a Mission of Burma. They would release the next record on Ralph Records of Residence, but the Residence label. But I really enjoy where this one goes, and still cheap. I don't know, for some reason people aren't really talking about this. So just some ideas of things to think about, and I forget how I figured out but some of these, but they're all things that I think are left of center of what people are sort of looking for. And yeah, I don't know, just a little bit of a brain fart on those, just sort of picking out things that sort of inspired me into this topic. But the bottom line is, if you love records, there's plenty of reasons to still feel like it's a fun thing to do with your time. But get out of it if you don't like it. If it's not really doing your thing, or not really, giving you that itch, then why do it? But no, thanks to Dillon and for bringing up a topic that I think is important to think about. It's important to think about what you're spending your time and money on. And thanks again for Lance too for putting together a great video in this topic as well. So that's it. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. Take care.